Have you ever been recording video with a mirrorless or DSLR camera and wish you'd been able to monitor your footage at a bigger size or a different angle? Then maybe an external monitor could be the answer to this problem. In this video we'll be reviewing the DESVIEW R5 5.5 inch 4K monitor. Now, full disclosure, I have been sent this monitor for review by DESVIEW, but it will be a fully objective review. In the box we have the monitor, which has a plastic finish, but feels pretty well made. There are micro and mini HDMI cables for connecting it to your camera, and a D-tap power cable, as well as a cold shoe mount for mounting it to your camera. There's a sunshade in here, as well as usual things such as a microfiber cloth and manuals. Now, you may have noticed that there isn't a battery included in the box, so this will have to be picked up separately if you're getting this monitor, and I'll leave a link to this in the description. So as you can see, the packaging and presentation of this monitor is pretty nice. Comes in a very nice kind of small-ish box. It's got all the important information on the backs, and it's a fairly premium feeling product to start with, which is, well, it's a good start. Now, before we get into the meat of the review, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I make lots of tips and tricks videos for Sony mirrorless cameras. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on the video. It's got a 5.5 inch touchscreen display, which is pretty responsive. I wouldn't say it's up there with like a really fast smartphone such as an iPhone for responsiveness, but for what you need it for, you're not touching it that much, and it's perfect for navigating the menus, which are all on screen. I found no issues with responsiveness. So even though this is a 4K screen, that basically means it supports a signal of up to 4K. The resolution of the monitor itself is 1080p. Not necessarily an issue, but worth bearing in mind, but I do find that this 1080p works perfectly for me because I'm using cameras such as the Sony a6000 and the Sony a5100, which only have a 1080p signal anyway. But it's nice to know that it is monitoring that 4K signal even if it's not displaying it, if that makes sense. The screen is pretty bright at 500 nits, which is a way of measuring brightness of a screen, and it's absolutely perfect for indoor use such as this, vlogs and stuff. I have used it outside, and if it's a particularly bright day, I think that brightness does struggle a bit, like you wish it could be a bit brighter, like you might struggle to see the screen. It does come with a sunshade, which helps with this, but do bear in mind that outside you might struggle with the brightness a little bit. It has a viewing angle of 178 degrees, which is great. It means you can basically see this screen from anywhere. If you're far off at either side, you can still see the screen really great, which is a massive plus, especially over the built-in camera monitors, which don't have great viewing angles in my experience, and you have to be pretty much right in front of the screen to be able to see it clearly. It's a backlit LED screen and has inputs for HDMI, and also has an SD card reader for storing your LUTs and presets and things like that. Handily, it does come with an SD card in the box, which is great. It's one extra thing you don't have to worry about. It also has a HDMI output as well as a 3.5mm jack. There are tripod mounts on two sides of this monitor, which is really handy because it means that you can mount this either vertically or horizontally depending on your needs. Currently, I'm using the cold shoe mount to mount this to the top of an a6000. But if you're using a tripod or another mounting system, you may want to mount this the other way round, so it's just nice to have that flexibility. The battery mount is on the back of the monitor, and it supports 3 different types of batteries, which I will leave in the description. And the monitor weighs about 200 grams, 7 ounces, something like that, so not too heavy, and you can easily mount it to the top of the camera, as I said, like I'm doing with the a6000, and it doesn't make it weigh too much. So my first impressions are good. It's got good build quality and a decent range of outputs and features. So let's have a quick look on how to mount it to a camera. As I imagine most people who are picking this up, this is how they will use it. So as I mentioned, it comes with a cold shoe mount, which you just slide into and tighten up on your camera. And then you connect that to the monitor and screw that in. It takes a little bit of tightening up, but once it's on, it's very sturdy, and I think it looks very professional. Now, of course, if you're using a camera such as the Sony a5100, which I use a lot, it doesn't actually have a cold or hot shoe mount, so you'll probably need to use a separate tripod for the monitor. But bear in mind, you can get third-party accessories which add a cold shoe mount to cameras such as the Sony a5100. Then you just need to connect the monitor to your camera. Really simple, just use the provided HDMI cable, and it's a 2-second process. The signal comes through straight away and shows what is on your screen, as well as some of the monitor's default functions. And there's certainly a lot more that this monitor can do. And talking of those features, there's a lot of built-in features which I feel like might help improve your workflow. So we'll have a look at those now. When you first plug it in, you'll see exactly what you can see on your camera's monitor with some extra information overlaid. We'll go through these now, but these can all be toggled on and off as you desire. Double tap to bring up the menu, and the first drop down is Exposure Assist. The first option is false colour, useful for checking brightness in your shot. There's an adjustable zebra option for identifying overexposed areas of your image. A histogram showing distribution of light in your image. This is one of the options that you can leave on your screen, and the monitor gives you the option to move this around the screen using this grid option, or turn it off entirely, which is pretty useful. Similar for the waveform option, it can be toggled on and off as desired. And there's also a vector scope showing the colour components of your shot. And with all of these options, you can also change the transparency of the element so they can take up less of the screen if required. The all wave option is quite nice as it puts all of these options on the screen at once and shrinks down the feed from your camera so you can see everything on your screen without anything being covered up. There are also HDR options for the monitor as well. Under focus and composition, you can choose the colour and the amount of focus peaking, so you can see which of your shots are in focus. There are also options for a centre mark, which is basically a crosshair in the centre of your screen. And you can set safe areas for your shot, as well as grid lines and audio meters. Now, a nice feature of this monitor is the ability to load in LUTs. And there's a range of preset LUTs that come on the SD card that came with the monitor, which is really handy. But you can also add your own to the SD card as well. This is great for seeing what your final shot could look like after editing. Be aware though, this doesn't change what your camera captures, it's essentially a LUT preview. Under display settings, there's a range of modifications you can do, such as changing the aspect ratio, flipping the screen, and zooming to personalize your experience. You can also take freeze frames of the monitor here as well. Under System Config, you can change the brightness, color temperature, and other useful user settings such as volume, and perform firmware updates. So as you can see, there's a lot you can do with this monitor which you can't do with the camera's built-in screen. And for me, I've used this screen for a few weeks now, I'm finding it very useful. The main thing, to be honest, is just having a bigger screen for monitoring myself compared to the small screen is really handy. It's perfect for videos like this, and I'm recording myself and I can monitor myself all at the same time. And it's also really handy if you're using cameras such as the Sony a6000, where the screen doesn't flip up to monitor yourself. You just use the cold shoe mount and you can turn basically any camera with this type of mount into one where you can monitor yourself. A big bonus. I've also found myself using the features such as focus peaking and zebra, which of course are built into the camera, but being able to turn them off quickly from the monitor is just a little bit less fiddly and helps speed up my workflow a lot. So this monitor costs about £200, $200, so that is enough for you to have to think twice about whether you need this type of monitor. But if you're mainly a video creator, I found the DESVIEW R5 has massively improved the speed of my workflow. Before getting this monitor, I hadn't used any type of external monitor before. I've always just used the camera's built-in screens. And to be honest, I can't quite believe I've struggled along for this long without one. The extra screen size, as I said before, is such a big bonus, and it just helps speed things up, and it just means that I can get the lay of the land with my shot so much quicker, and there's a lot less messing around and going to and from the camera. I can just see it all from a proper distance perfectly. And now I use it for all my videos, which I guess does show that it's a pretty useful accessory. Now, it is a little bit on the expensive side, and as it doesn't come with a battery as well, that is a bit of a shame. But if your main uses are video creation, and you like what you've seen in this video, I do recommend this monitor. But if you're mainly a video creator, and especially if you've had issues monitoring your footage in the past, a monitor like this will be a big help. Perfect for videos such as this for YouTube or vlogs, things like that. It could also be useful with a gimbal, or if you just want to monitor your footage somewhere away from the camera. You could have the screen set up on a tripod and monitor it from a different location. So if you like the sound of the DESVIEW R5, I'll leave an Amazon link in the description below, as well as a link to the battery. And if you've enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on the video. And you can check out my photography on Instagram at aaron.prescott. But that's it from me for now. Until next time, see ya.